Ko Andrew Murray taku ingoa, no tikwiti uku te puna, ke te noho o ke kere Kia ora everyone, I'm Andrea, Marketing and Comms Lead for the team at Wild Bamboo, and it's wonderful to see you all here today. It's our pleasure to join you virtually for our first webinar of 2023, and I'm really excited to be sharing with you, along with Joe Scothern, our product lead, our high-level product plan or product roadmap for 2023, and also a sneak peek about some of the latest things that are coming out in our next release. It's not like a normal meeting when you do these webinars, and it can also be a little bit cold. So I was just wondering if everyone could pop in the chat for me. So you'll see that there is a chat I suppose pointing somewhere, where you're from and what's the weather like in your neck of the woods. In my tiny house in Kirikiriroa, I live in a little tiny house. It's freezing cold. I am refusing at this stage to put the heat pump on because that officially means it's winter. But I'm bearing with things at the moment. So I'd love to know where you're from. So if you could just maybe pop it in the chat where you're from and what's the weather like in your neck of the woods. Now, there's some housekeeping that I do need to take care of. We are taking questions towards the end of the webinar, and there is a question and answer little chat widget somewhere on your screen. So you can pop, I've just enabled the chat. As always, it means that technology has let me down. One moment, guys. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that today, so I do apologise, best laid plans and all that sort of thing. But let's get started with the webinar. Just remember that you can pop your questions and answer questions into the chat function and we'll get started. I'm going to hand it over to Joe Scothern.
Cool. Kia ora koutou, ko Joe Scothern taku ingoa. Look, I'm going to share a screen because I've got a handy dandy presentation for you all. So bear with me 2 seconds. So hopefully you can all see that. Look, welcome everyone to the sneak peek webinar. So I'm Joe Scothern, the product manager for Recordbase, and today we're going to have a look at what's on the roadmap for this year. Now, at Wild Bamboo, our vision is to deliver systems that make things easier for you. And our belief is that a smart digital system can enable you to do more things that really matter. And that's really the foundation for all the decisions that we make when we're planning out the next improvements that we want to put into Recordbase. So with that in mind, let's have a look at what's in store for 2023. So we have 5 main initiatives that we're going to be working on this year. And while these won't be the only things that we're going to be working on, security, visualizations, health metrics, integrations, and a better experience for Te Ao Māori are some of our main areas of focus. Excuse me, everyone, my PowerPoint is being wanting to jump ahead of where I'm speaking. So I think if we start at the top with security, then what we're wanting to do here, it's something that's always top of mind. And I guess this year we're quite excited to move our authentication infrastructure to Azure B2C. Now, our existing identity server has served us really well, but as security requirements get more complex, so does the effort involved in maintaining the high standard that we require for Recordbase. So what we're going to do with the move to Azure B2C is that it makes us feel safe knowing that they can take care of all the scaling, safety of the authentication platform, and they'll automatically handle a wide range of threats such as denial of service, password spray, and brute force attacks. It also makes it easier to enable a bunch of great features that I know some of you have asked for around multi-factor authentication and even potentially making use of your own preferred social, enterprise, or local account identities so that you can enable single sign-on for Recordbase. A big part of that, though, for us is about being confident that security is taken care of so that we can focus on delivering more value to you through Recordbase. Now, we're also excited about dedicating some work this year towards improving the visualizations that are available directly within Recordbase. We know many of you find the MyGraphs functionality useful, so we want to expand on that and add more information that can be visualized within Recordbase. So our initial goal in this place is to, I guess, provide a set of team-level dashboards that will summarize information across activity, referral, and demographic data. So the idea is that you'll be able to go in and actually get a visual summary of that information directly in Recordbase without having to really do anything else. Ultimately, we believe that data, insights, and stories can drive positive change. And so a step towards this is providing more ways in Recordbase to visualize the rich data that you're already collecting in Recordbase. So it's going to be an ongoing piece of work. So I guess something to keep an eye out on throughout the year. Another thing that we are going to be doing some work on this year is the area of health metrics. So the health systems evolved over time, and we all know that there's a need for a holistic view of a person's well-being. So we think there's benefit enabling additional functionality to allow you to easily capture, track, and report on a broad range of physical health criteria. Now, we already have a model for collecting this kind of information in the daily care events functionality, but it's quite limited in the metrics that it actually allows you to capture. So what we want to do this year is extend this a bunch and provide you a much more flexible way to specify the metrics that you want to record. So along with that, we also want to make sure there's an easy way for you to see any potential trends and maybe even give you better insights into the well-being of your people. The other area, big area, always probably will be, is around integrations. I've been high on the list for quite a while now, and I guess it's no surprise as the need for a connected health system is continuing to grow. Now, we've already made some progress in this space with recent developments integrating with Caro, and we will soon be connecting to the NHI lookup service, but I'll tell you a bit more about that later on. Now, with this year, we're really looking to extend on the projects that we've already started and start looking at the other systems we can connect to. And to be honest, there's an awful lot of them on the landscape. But the good news is that many of them are now connecting through a common mechanism that's called HL7 FHIR. And that's a secure health interoperability framework, which is being adopted throughout New Zealand. So the great thing about that is it means the work that we put into one type of integration can be leveraged for others. Now, we are hoping that this will help us keep momentum in this space. So there's a few systems that we've already started to look at as potential likely candidates. There's MedTech, which through the Alex platform is well placed as a partner for any of you that already interact with clinical services. On the housing front, Zavanti has proven to be quite a good system to manage tenancies. And again, it's got some good existing functionality that makes it suitable for us to connect to. The other key thing, I guess, is around e-referrals. So we've been working for a while on the infrastructure we've got in place. And we're going to try and we're looking to extend that more this year. I guess one of the important things with integrations in mind is that, we really need to consider the impact of sharing and ensure that we're maintaining a really strong consent infrastructure. So there should always be ways to opt out of any sharing that you've got in place. The final theme that we're looking to progress is around creating a better experience for Te Ao Māori in Recordbase. Now, at the end of last year, we started a piece of work to enable multiple language support in Recordbase. And the idea was to allow Recordbase users to choose between Te Reo and English and enable the language that would work best for them. Now, from a technical standpoint, this went really well, and we actually have the infrastructure in place to achieve this goal right now. But we quickly realized a number of challenges around creating a Te Reo language pack. And we realized we don't really have the skills or knowledge in-house to do this. Sorry, everyone, that PowerPoint is skipping independently of me doing anything, which is not great. But yeah, so we quickly realized we didn't have that appropriate knowledge in-house, and that really made us rethink our approach to doing that language piece. And when we started to consider the bigger picture, we quickly realized that language was just one of many areas that we could improve on. And again, there were a lot of things that we didn't already know. So with this in mind, we've reset our thinking, and we're now in a discovery phase as we explore the best way to improve the experience in Recordbase. And this is an area we'd really appreciate your input. So, you know, it's, I guess, as with everything, it's an opportunity for all of you to get involved or to reach out and let us know of this stuff that you think you'd like to be part of, and help shape ultimately any of the initiatives that we've got. So I guess if that's something you'd like to do, yeah, please reach out using the product@wildbamboo.co.nz email address. Now, I guess while we're all here already, I guess before I go on, I guess those are the key points for the journey that we're looking to go on this year. But we've actually already done a bunch this year as well. We've already done one release that came out in February, and as I might have alluded to before, we've got another release that's actually just on the horizon. So this is a pretty good opportunity to share with you some of the things that we've already done or gotten very close in the pipeline. So one of the things that we did towards the end of last year was looking at how we deliver updates through Recordbase. And we realized we'd fallen into a bit of a pattern of delaying some of the releases until we had all of the key features that we were really wanting to roll out. And then what that did is it made it take a bit longer for some of the other useful changes that we had ready to go, because they had to wait until everything else was ready. So we thought we could do better. And this year we're really committed to doing, I guess, smaller and more frequent releases. Now, that makes it easier for us to reduce the impact of a release, and in many cases remove the need for an outage. And we achieved that with the last release that we did in February, and we are looking to be able to do that again for the next one, which is we're planning to come out later on in April, which is not too far away. So I guess where we've got to now is that I guess, yeah, like I said, the next release is coming up soon. It's just actually in final testing now. So and the next release is really looking like it's going to be something that's quite exciting, or at least we're quite excited about it, and we hope you will be too. So we've got a refresh of the dashboard, which is going to hopefully provide a slightly better format to prioritize things like KPIs and give us more space to look at our own caseload. We've got some additional improvements around the carrying on from the other client list changes that we've been doing. So the previous release introduced the by team view, and now we are including a kind of a caseload view directly on the dashboard, and additional search mechanisms that are kind of always available. There is an activity recovery function. So if you're working on an activity and for any reason can't save it, then we've got an option for you to be able to recover that, which again is something I think should be quite exciting. And finally, we've got an NHI lookup function introduced to the Recordbase, the referral wizard. So essentially, what that means is that when you're doing a referral, you can put in someone's NHI, and that will actually go off to the NHI lookup service and pull back a bunch of information for them, which should hopefully help for anyone that certainly does any kind of primed service or anything like that. Then you're going to get a lot more, I guess, should be better accuracy of data in terms of making sure we're getting less primed errors and things like that. But yeah, look, hey, it's all well and good me talking about it, but I thought this is a good opportunity for me to perhaps show some of what we're doing. So I'm just going to quickly stop sharing, and then I'm going to switch over to a Recordbase screen and show you some of these features that are coming out soon. So bear with me 2 seconds. Let me share a different screen. So hopefully you can all now see a Recordbase looking screen. Look a little bit different to what you're used to, but yeah, should be fairly familiar. So what we've got here is on this dashboard, we've actually taken a few things out, like the task list and the activities stuff. And what we're doing is we've highlighted it by moving up KPIs so that they're a bit more prominent. In the task space, as an example, we're going to have some standard KPIs that match up to what the task was doing, but along the way in doing that, we're actually making these a bit more specific, because one of the complaints that we heard from many of you about the task list was that often you just got far too many things showing up, and so it became too much information, and people started ignoring it. So with KPIs, we have the option to set more specific rules. So in this case, I've got a goals for review, risks for review, and any tasks that are due or overdue. So these take the place of having that big wall of text, and we can see hopefully like a small number of more about the people that need review. So we've got 8 people that need a risk review. I've got 1 person that needs a goal review, and there are 5 tasks, 5 people with tasks that are overdue. So it's sort of just a different way of looking at it. But again, the advantage of moving to this space is we can be a bit more specific. The other thing we've done is, again, we've changed obviously that layout a little bit, so we've got a bit more space for this client list. And one thing I've actually accidentally switched ahead from where I was meant to in my demo, but at the moment in Recordbase, you have the concept of this recently viewed list of people. So that's the people that you've been you've opened up a person's record, and then it sort of keeps track of the last 10. What we're doing now is, and again, it's sort of extending on what we had in the client list. We're moving we're creating another version of the my clients, or what we're calling caseload. So I've got my caseload view. So when I look at this caseload view, this is showing me all of the people that I've been set up as a caseworker or a support worker or some kind of kaimahi relationship with. So there are some specifics about how this works, and at the moment what we've done to try and make sure that we're not getting everybody showing up that you might have might work on occasionally. It's focused on people that where you've specified the referral for which the person, you're a caseworker for them. So, but again, we can go more into that when you'll find out more when we send out I guess all the details of it. So that's the main changes on the dashboard, but we've also now got this search clients at the top. So that's where we've taken the searching for people out of our clients list, and we've popped it up here. So now I can just I can type in searching for all the people that are mouse, and then I get that list here with a bunch of information here. I can further filter that if I needed to by just starting to type. So if I get a really large list, then I can say, well, actually, I'm only interested in say danger mouse in this case, and start typing that in, and it will start to filter that list, which is pretty good. The other thing that it will do is, if I search on certain things, like if I know someone's address or phone number, I can search for them in here. We've had the functionality to search on those things before, but it wasn't really clear when a result came back for it. So now you'll get a little badge next to the person's name saying, like if I searched and it said this person came up in the list because there was a match using phone number, or any one of the other criteria that we can search on, which is pretty cool. So that's a couple of the things. What else did I say we had? We had new referrals. We had the referral wizard. Let's have a look at that. So when I go in here with the NHI lookup service, and there is, to be honest, there is a little bit of things that you will need to do if you want to enable this. So there is a registration process you have to go through with Te Whatu Ora and the NHI Access team, but we'll be providing all the details to do that. It's a basic form that you send off, and they essentially give you some credentials. You would let us know what they are, and we then put that into your Recordbase environment. And what that does is allows the NHI people to know they can then track who is requesting what type of information. But essentially, how it's going to work in Recordbase, and I like to think of this as kind of a phase one of our this particular integration, is that we're focusing on the reference number. So if you know the NHI for the person, in this case, I'm going to use this test one, I can then search for that NHI. And what it's going to do here, in this case, it's saying, hey, look, we don't know, we don't have a record for this person in Recordbase at the moment. But what we do have is this information that's come back from the NHI service. So now you can get the, well, you can get the gender and the date of birth and the names and ethnicities based on what the NHI service knows about. And so obviously when I click this client matches, then it's going to bring that information through for me, which is pretty cool. What it won't do at the moment, and this is again a thing that we are currently working on, is some of the information that we've got, like the address information, and there is potentially other information we can get. Some of that isn't being automatically pulled across, so it's displayed on screen, but we're not automatically populating it. So that's one of the next phases that we're also wanting to work on. So that'll be coming soon. The final thing, or the final, I guess, what I'd call big ticket item that we've got is around activity recovery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Mickey Mouse's record. I'm going to go create a new activity for him. Creating an activity works the sort of same way that you're used to. So nothing changes at this point. But what happens is if I'm in here and I'm going to make an initial contact, and I've got obviously all these different things that I can select, right? So imagine this is as far as I've got. For some reason I've managed to start writing the activity and something's happened. So what's happening behind the scenes is that every 15 seconds we're going to effectively update kind of a version of this activity behind the scenes. The only place where that's a bit different is around the notes, and I think note changes, we sort of every 2 minutes we're going to save those. Everything else is I think 15 seconds, and if you exit the control, so if I'm in here and I make a change and then I click out, then that kind of triggers that action to happen. The reason notes is a bit different is because of I guess the volume over time. If you're typing and it's constantly saving, it's going to be a lot of network chatter that's going on. So I guess what that means is there's the potential to lose, if this did happen, it would be the last 2 minutes of time or any changes that might get lost. But the way this works is basically if you've started doing this and for whatever reason you lose it, maybe you've had a power cut, maybe the browser gets closed accidentally, and again, obviously Recordbase will warn you that you haven't saved changes, but let's just say that for some reason this has happened and we didn't notice that message. So I've done that. What happens then is when I come back into Recordbase, and if I refresh the screen, you'll now see that on this top level screen, this area where it could be the recently viewed or it could be the caseload, you can see there is now this the new activity button has changed to recover activity. Now that what all that button is still doing exactly the same thing as it used to, but I guess it's just giving you a visual cue that, hey, you've lost, or there's an activity that was never saved and you might want to go and do something about it. So when I click on that now, we get back to this and it looks sort of the same, except we've got this new section at the top. So it's saying, hey, you've got an activity that was never saved. What do you want to do? Do you want to recover it? So in this case, we're going to say, yes, absolutely we do. We can click our recover button and it brings us back into exactly what we had before when we exited the screen. So, and obviously imagine if I'd filled out more stuff, that would all be there as well. Now, you've got to get rid of that activity recovery. You can either complete the activity and save it, and when I click create activity, it will remove the activity recovery record because you've now saved the activity, so I don't need to save that. Alternatively, if I come in here and then choose to cancel, so if I cancel this, then I'm telling Recordbase, actually, I don't need this anymore, so that will also clear it. So yeah, so those are the key points. There's a bunch more things that will be coming out in the next release, and as I said, aiming to have that come out in April. But there will be a bunch more things, but these are I guess the high level stuff that we thought you might be interested in. So I'll stop sharing briefly now, and then I guess maybe I can see there's maybe some questions that have come up. So we can potentially go back and look at answering those.
Thanks, Joe. That's awesome. I suppose since we were talking about the NHI lookup fairly recently, let's go through the questions that are in the chat around the NHI thing. So one of the questions that Hannah has brought up is that will the NHI lookup correct the previous data?
Yep, good question. So the answer is a no to that. So as I said, for phase one, what we're we looked at, I guess we looked at what would add the most value the fastest, as we often do in Recordbase. So what we thought was, look, let's focus on trying to, like for organizations that perhaps do primed, what we wanted to do was, I guess, prevent data errors going in the first place, right? Because a primed error might be, I've put this person in with an NHI, and for whatever reason I've entered their date of birth incorrectly. So by doing it this way, we can sort of automatically pick up those things and put the right values in right from the start. So, and as I said, it is definitely a phase one. So what we will be getting to is having it. So at the moment that works off the NHI as part of the referral wizard. We will also be getting it on the other end. So if you entered the person's details, you'd be able to look up other information. So if I entered their first name, last name, maybe doing a search based on that. That's a little bit more complicated because, as you imagine, as opposed to NHI relating to one person, a person's name and demographic details could relate to multiple people. So it's a little bit more complex sort of a user experience to put into place. So that's why we sort of chose to move that one secondly. The other aspect, I guess, in terms of what you're asking about in terms of correcting things, the NHI service has, I'm not sure whether it's out now or if it's coming soon, but they are going to have a service which I guess actively sends out information about things. And so what I can imagine, what I can see happening for Recordbase is that when you go into a person's record, that it would maybe give you a prompt to say, hey, there's some new information that's arrived from the NHI. I think we don't want to automatically override it because we know that in cases, there are plenty of cases where the information you store potentially is subtly different to what the ministry has. And I guess that's it gets into an interesting thing as to which one's right and which one's not. And if we automatically override it, you might lose some valuable information. But I guess what we want to do is provide you access to everything that's there. I can see there's another question from Lara around the data set that we're using. So as I said, this is the ministry or Te Whatu Ora's data set. So it's if you're a primed service, it's the NHI, I guess it's the central source of the NHI information in New Zealand. So it's what any validation process would be working against, if that makes sense. Yep, and yeah, I think, yeah, I was gonna say, I saw from Cara that there was a mention about things that might not be correct. So absolutely, yeah. So and that's at the moment it is a summary. So that's why again it's phase two. It's kind of about how we do this. I think when we start to populate more of the stuff like addresses, the way we would do it is again to bring in the ability to add an address or contact details in that referral wizard, and it would be about populating it. So if you chose to not want to put that in place, you could not put that in place. So yeah, I mean, again, any kind of integration gets complicated, I guess, is the key message that I would say. And so we wanted to start off as simple as possible, but hopefully adding as much value as possible is the way we want to go about it.
There's a question there from Ben, and I think it might also pick up a little bit on what Simon's asked around, you know, what would be the best practice or the way of doing things for actually using the NHA lookup for tangata whai ora who are already in Recordbase? And then Simon also sort of has hinted on, well, what if the client is already in Recordbase, but they don't have that NHI attached to the record?
Yep, good questions. Good questions. So, so I think the answer to Ben's one is that at the moment there isn't anything for that, and that's that next phase thing. It's about where we would put it, and I think that's where, as I said before, I would see that you'd open up that person's record, and then there'd be some kind of prompt to say whether it's an action or whether it's an automatic thing, but there'd be something that says, hey, we've got some additional information now. Do you want to use it, or do you want to see what it is? Again, I'm hesitant to go down any path where we automatically do things, because I think there's some risk there in terms of unintentional overriding of information. But yeah, definitely making it easy for you to gain access to that information would be an important thing. In terms of Simon's question, the way it should work, and I believe it does work, and I will 100% confirm this before we push this out, but it's kind of a stage thing, right? So if you go in searching on NHI and it goes, we don't have this NHI in Recordbase, then it brings back a bunch of information to that screen. The next screen you got to would actually do a further search in Recordbase based on the information that came back. So if I put in NHI ABC 1234, and then that brings back Joe Scothern, then the next thing it would do is go, actually, do we have any matches for Joe Scothern already in Recordbase? And if we do, then it would go on down that path. So yeah, because exactly, we don't want to introduce any potential duplicates coming into the system. Yeah, and as I said, look, I think it's the kind of thing, as I said, that it will definitely evolve over time. So we're hoping that we've got everything, but we will we'll definitely be doing further work in this space. So it's kind of, yeah, from my point of view, it's kind of exciting as an integration to a national system, and as I said, it's very much a starting point. I know there's a lot of other types of information you can pull out of the NHI system, but as I think it was Cara that mentioned, then it's not always necessarily accurate. So there's a bit of a balance there around how we make use of that.
So just winding back to some of the things that you talked about when you went through the first sort of themes that we're looking at with the product roadmap, Lara's actually asked, and it's around those visualizations that you showed us, you know, is there a sandpit site where we can play, where they could play, or you could play with developing infographics from our existing reports available now?
Oof.
That's
good
tough.
question. Yeah, look, I mean, ultimately we can absolutely always make available an environment to see what's coming out in Recordbase. I think specifically the visualizations that we're doing and the, you know, how they work, that's something I'd be more than happy to have a chat to you about, and anyone, as I said before in the through that presentation, really keen to for anyone to get in touch if there's an area that they're particularly interested in, and you know, that helps shape the direction and the path that we go forward on. So yeah,
because I mean, ultimately we've always said that Recordbase has been developed by the sector for the sector, and I mean that's actually how we look at developing things. So please, as Joe said, email, reach out to our customer analysts if you want to be involved, if you've got suggestions and all that sort of thing. Andrew's popped one final sort of question into the question and answer widget, and it's one that I'm really interested in to learn more about. So if we're looking at implementing Te Reo language into our system, what about other languages like Pacifica or European or Japanese and Chinese and those sort of things? What are we thinking about when we think about that sort of thing?
Yeah, good question, real good question. I mean, the infrastructure there is essentially there to do it. So I guess that's a good thing from not having a barrier. There are, yeah, it's not currently on the roadmap to extend it further than what we've got with Te Reo. And I think really what I'd want to do first is to make sure that what we've got for Te Reo works well, and that it actually achieves the goals that we're hoping for. So I think once that's been out there, then that's certainly a conversation I'd be more than happy to have with people around, are there other languages that we'd like to see supported in here. and then maybe review the learnings or the things that we've learned from implementing the multilingual support that we've got. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. It doesn't look like that there's any more questions, but one of the things that I'd like to ask you guys, and please email through to product@wildbamboo.co.nz, is do you find these sessions interesting? Are there topics that we could be covering? Are there better ways that we could be sharing this sort of information? How can we make these a little bit more engaging? So please let us know, because part of what we want to do in 2023 is actually involve you a lot more in this type of thing, because it's such an invaluable way of us sharing our information, but also getting the feedback. So with that in mind, there is a quick survey after this webinar. Please take the time to complete it. It would be amazing to learn a bit more. Thank you so much for joining us. There is other exciting things planned in 2023, and I'm really excited to let you all know that we will be getting out and about and actually hopefully having some in-person events in different regions where we can actually meet you in person, because nothing beats real life when it comes to connecting with people. So thanks so much for taking the time today, and we'll look forward to seeing you in our next product update not too soon. See you all. Ka kite.